Well, hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today, a fun one. I've been looking into bands that use two drummers. In some cases, a drummer and a percussionist, but really the ones that have two drummers. Allman Brothers, Doobie Brothers, The Grateful Dead, King Crimson, my favorite band in the world, 3 drummers for the past almost 10 years. I've seen them live. It's absolutely astounding. What can we learn from that? And how can we apply it in our studios to come up with something that opens a door for us? Let's check it out. By the way, guys, take 30 seconds, look this up. The bands including double drummers or drummers and additional percussionists, and the list is extraordinary. Unbelievable. A lot of them I knew, a few of them I didn't know. Worth a quick look. Now, there are some free plugins that you can use to do what you're about to see happen. I'm a big fan of MT Power Drummer 2. It's free. I'll link it below. Steven Slate has a free version of his drum kit. I think there's even a free version of Superior Drummer. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll link all that stuff below. But today we're going to use the Abbey Road drum kits from Native Instruments. They have 5 kits that I'm using. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and modern, each one offering you 2 variations of the kit. 5 different plugins, 2 kits each. We got 10 tracks to listen to. Here they are. We do want to hear this stuff sit with drums, maybe some keyboards. Let's see how it goes. I will get myself out of the way. You can follow along as we are switching through. And we get the guitar snuck in by the very end of it. Okay, on to the actual trick. So here's the fun part. Let's start doubling them up. One kit. Panning it slightly left. Two kits. Switching the left kit. Switching the right kit. Switching left. Switching right. Switching left. Switching right. Switch left. Very different. Switching right. Super easy to set it up. Very cool results. I just want to add this. If I was doing this in the real world, I probably would not be using the identical drum pattern for both drum kits like you're going to see me do here. This is for demo purposes only, and it's really so you can kind of hear the sound. I would probably more tend to isolate the kick on its own track and maybe pan one kit snares and cymbals to the left, pan another snare and cymbals to the right, maybe tune them differently. And with Abbey Road, it does give you the ability to change close mic'd versus room mic'd. All of those things, if I had an hour to get into all of this with you, I would probably do that. But this is just to give you some idea of combinations of drum kits with some panning. With this comes some words of caution. If you layer too much stuff, especially kick drums, if they're hitting around the same frequency, we can run into problems with phase cancellation. Adding more kicks does not necessarily add more punch or more bottom end to your mix. In fact, it can be quite the opposite. Cymbals can have flanging and phasing effects in your super high end. That's why one thing that I would do is try to keep the patterns a little bit different, or maybe have one set of instruments panned a little to the left, one set of instruments panned to the right, and the kick and snare kind of down the center. It does require a little bit of editing to do this, but the payoff can be really big. Before I leave you, I have one other thing that I want to go over with you. When I was putting this together, part of the mixing parameters that they give you in these Abbey Road drums, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to mix in close mics and room mics and that type of thing, that had a huge effect. And these guys designed this software so you can very, very quickly get these type effects without having to double up anything. Let me give you the quick demo of that. This is the Abbey Road 80s black kit. Cool stuff going on. Here it is, stock standard. I'll switch over to mixer. Blend in some overhead. We can actually solo that. There's also a mute switch if you ever want to kill anything. The compressed sound. Let's solo this. The room mic. Let's solo this. And the stereo compression. Solo. So there's our straight kit. Overhead, compressed mids, compressed mono, compressing in stereo, the room mic. Easy to get some cool stuff. You can see there's a great amount of flexibility when we start talking about what you can do with the normal kit by itself, but the flexibility that you get when you start combining kits and panning them out. And if your patterns are done intelligently, you can come up with some really fascinating new drum sounds. If you find yourself stuck in kind of the same old drum thing that you've had going on forever, this is a cool technique to kind of say, hey, I got something cool and new that I can work with. It's pretty quick to set it up, and so it won't kill your workflow. Just get a couple kits up there, bring them in, pan them, do a little bit of editing. You can get some really, really fine professional results doing this. I appreciate that you guys came out. We got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it. Hey, we're back live. Hey guys, Oren's here, Joe's here, Brian's here. Thank you guys for coming out. This was kind of the secret double agent thing, and it was a trick that we've been using in the studio for many, many years, going all the way back to a little Casio keyboard that was held together with duct tape that had, I think 6 different rhythms in it. It was absolutely terrible. But it had a button called fill. And every time you hit this button, it would either go to a snare going or it would go to a kick going thump, 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 thump. And the idea was, while these terrible patterns were going, and I mean, these things just sounded like literally the bass drum. You might as well just had an open patch cord going into a bass amp and just, like that was the kick. And the snare was just like, shorting out a circuit. It was like, it was like this terrible thing. But when you hit the fill button, you never knew if it was going to do that straight kick or the fast snare. And if you kept hitting it and hitting it, it would alternate between the two. So while all these terrible Casio was going on, thump, 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 and you'd be hitting this button, it would go thump, 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 thump. But if you hit it and hit it, it was like thump, like it would just like chop between the two things, somehow keeping it in timing. And we used to take that, and when we got something, on our little 4-track cassette, or I think at the time we were using, back then it was like a 4-track reel-to-reel actually, we'd get something like arbitrarily that would kind of work, and we would say to our drummer, learn this, and he would go over to his kit and it was like these cool fills, and he would learn them beat for beat, but he was human, he was a little bit off. And so we would record him doing that on the drums and split pan it. And I remember we were sitting there monitoring it going, oh my God, that was just like the coolest thing that we've ever heard. So this is like an old trick. It's very similar to what we used to use as a combination between, drum machine type stuff and real drums. And the sounds actually kind of complemented each other. Everything that we heard today, that was all the same beat being played at the same time and just kind of split panned. And we talked about that in the video. Not what I would normally do. Hey, Rahul's here. He said, hey, it's my first time, so I thought it was over. Glad you're here, bro. You can always rewind and watch from the beginning, and happy to answer any questions. I want a whole hour loop of Steve beatboxing. God love you, Brian. Yeah, I'm terrible at it. My niece beatboxes. She was actually in a choir, And the way that she got in was like, what's your range? What your skills? She's like, I beatbox. They were like, you're in. She ended up running it. It was awesome. All right, man. Thank you guys for coming out. Today was like like a fun one for me because I been kind of keeping that trick under my hat a little bit. I've got some other cool tricks coming up specifically about snare drums. We got a lot to cover. Let's get to it.